Was popping. Oh, man. What is up, everybody? Welcome to Trades, where we get technical analysis on different stocks in the stock market, as well as potential buy, hold, or sell opinions on these given stocks. I'd like to preface by saying that I'm not a financial advisor nor expert, so take what I say with a grain of salt. Let's get into the video. So today, my friends, my family, my fellow Gorilla Gang, we're going to be looking at ticker symbol MARA. This is Mara. This is a pretty fascinating stock, and with cryptocurrency going on an absolute bull run, there is a way to actually take advantage of that without exposing yourself to Bitcoin, Ethereum, Dogecoin itself, right? If you want to play just purely stocks, you don't have a Coinbase, app, whatever, a brokerage account set up, there's different ways that you can play that and play that exposure. And I think that Mara is an opportunity. So with that being said, we're going to go over Mara. I want to go over the technical analysis of the stock, the basic fundamentals of the company, a couple of different news catalysts. I want to look at the options chain on this. I want to look at the short interest and the institutional investors. So we're going to work through all of those different pieces of Mara stock, give you the reason why I think this is a pretty decent play, and personally what I would do if I was going to play Mara stock with actual physical shares, or if you were going to play options. So with that being said, let's just get right into the video. So we're going to actually start off with what the company is, what they do. So I've got their website pulled up here, and it's a pretty fascinating company. So like I said, if you want to expose yourself to Bitcoin, Ethereum, cryptocurrency in general, these guys mine Bitcoin, and it's a pretty simple process on how it works. And they're a pretty fascinating company because of how fast they can actually mine Bitcoin and the explosive growth that they've really seen. So how it works essentially is these guys mine blocks. So Bitcoin transactions are pooled together in a block. They solve a block. So once a block is formed, miners compete to solve a puzzle. The puzzle is difficult to solve, yet simple to verify. Think like Sudoku. And then you verify the block and they get rewarded. So once a miner solves a puzzle for a block, the transactions in that block are verified by the network. The new block of verified transactions is attached to a chain of prior blocks, hence blockchain, right? Now, for solving the puzzle, a miner is rewarded with Bitcoin. The current block reward is 6.25 Bitcoin per block. Blocks are solved on average every 10 minutes. So every 10 minutes right now, these guys are getting 6.25 Bitcoins, which is an absolute stupid amount of money. That's a lot of freaking capital. And with Bitcoin increasing in price month over month over month, year over year, they're just going to continue to make more and more money with this sort of business, right? And if you look at their overall financial statements, this company is actually doing very decently well. I mean, let's just look at their quarterly Q1, 2, 3, 4, their overall growth. How have they been doing, right? They've grown 156% from Q1 to Q4 of 2019, $592,000 of total revenue. And then this quarter, they were down a little bit, $286,000, $835,000 in Q3, and $2.64 million in Q4 of 2020, which is a substantial amount of money. I mean, that's really, really solid. The downside right now to Mara is that they're not currently a profitable company. Their cost of revenue is higher than the amount of total revenue they're actually making. But this is a company where you're looking at the opportunity for setting themselves up for down the road, right? As they continue to grow, as they continue to advance technology, as they continue to mine more Bitcoin gets more expensive, they're going to make more total revenue, which is going to bring down that cost of revenue. So with that being said, they're doing well. They're, I think, in early stages of where they can be down the road, but there's also some good news catalysts to talk about here as well. So with that being said, I want to talk about what we should know, and that is regarding earnings and the options chain, right? So they do have earnings coming up here relatively soon. Mara closed at 33.55 in the latest trading session, marking a negative 1.18% move from the prior day. This move lagged the S&P 500's daily gain of 0.07%. Investors will be hoping for strength from Mara as it approaches its next earnings release. The company is expected to report earnings per share of 0.02 or 2 cents, up 116% from the prior year quarter. Meanwhile, the Zacks consensus estimate for revenue is projecting net sales of 11.13 million, up 1,800% from the year ago period. And 11.13 million in total revenue is going to be a significant bump from Q4 of 2020. And if people don't go absolutely ape bananas for this thing, I am going to be really surprised. Really, really, really stupid surprise, because that is 400% higher than Q4, and that's substantial. That's really substantial. So the next thing that I want to talk about, the date for this, right? We probably want to know when this is. Let's just find this really quick. Give me one sec. All right, so I found that actually the Pde ratio, I think this is pretty interesting as well. So the valuation is also important. So investors should note that Mara has a forward PE ratio of 16.17 right now. This represents a discount compared to its industry's average forward PE of 30.57. So I actually think that Mara is a little bit undervalued right now. I think this is been getting schwacked. It's been getting beat down pretty bad with all of these kind of smaller cap companies getting beat down over the last couple of months. I think this is a pretty good opportunity. And I think with earnings coming up, it is going to have a pretty nice little push. So I want to find the earnings one more. Give me one more sec. All right, so here you go. May 13th, 2021 is when we are expecting earnings to come out, and it is expected to be 2 cents earnings per share, right? So that's pretty solid. It's good growth, and that's something that you can look forward to. Next thing that I want to talk about is the marathon options. Now, the options chain has been actually going up significantly, and there were some really big block orders, essentially. So let's just talk about this. For those who want exposure to the cryptocurrency space using the regular broker, buying shares or options of Bitcoin miners such as Mara is an option, right? And there's some pretty big transactions that have taken place. On 10:04 a.m. on May, this would have been, I think, yesterday or 2 days ago, you saw the $32 strike price for May 28th had a substantial amount of options. It was 444, and they cost $510 per contract, which is $226,000. You can usually think of this as institutions or whales, right? That's not typically a retail investor making that big of a trade, because that's an extreme amount of exposure and risk if that's the majority of your portfolio, right? You see a lot of those $32 strikes at May 28th, a lot of $40 strikes at September 17th, and a lot of the $34 strikes at May 14th, right? I'll tell you what I think about the options chain. Was a pretty safe way to play this if you want to get into this, but nonetheless, I thought this was important to talk about. So next, I want to look at the overall institutional ownership on Mara, and I consider anything over 10% to be decently significant, right? And you've got 12.54% total ownership in the company with 12,393,000 total shares. Man, I can tell it's the morning. Woo, I haven't woken up yet. This is terrible. But their shares outstanding is about 98 million. Their free float, I think, is going to be lower, but nonetheless, the shares outstanding is what is included for everybody, right? It's the institutional owners, it's the insiders, and the retail investors. They all make up that shares outstanding, which comes out to about 12.54% of the shares outstanding. You've got your largest owner being what looks to be Croxell Douglas B with 5 million total shares. So there's a pretty decent amount of institutional ownership here, right? This is important because big money is smart money. People don't put money into small cap stocks, right? You might not think that Mara's a small cap at $30, but there's a lot safer companies out there than a speculative play like Mara, right? It's very volatile. It's had some ups, it's had some downs. So for them to be holding through all of that, right, that's a good sign to me. So I want to look at Ortex next and just look at the overall short interest data. And this is actually going up significantly. Yesterday it was up 8%, 7 or 8%. I remember looking at this, but it's sitting pretty freaking decently high. I mean, you got 6.81% short interest of free float, and that has gone up significantly, right? That's a lot of free float. That's a big change compared to a week ago, 33% change. So I think there's actually potential for a squeeze leading into earnings. Not a big one, right? A small one, but nonetheless, it's possible. Cost to borrow is pretty low, so there's not a lot of pressure on short positions. Utilization is not maxed out, so there's definitely room for them to continue to lend out shares and to continue to short the stock as it gets closer and closer to that earnings date. But nonetheless, it's starting to go up, right? That's something that you might want to pay attention to if you do have Ortex yourself. And this leads us into the last little piece that I want to talk about, which is the overall technical analysis setup, right? So I use basically 3 different indicators. I use volume, and then I use just basic trends. So I use the 15-day moving average, the 200 exponential moving average, the RSI, which is the relative strength index, and then I just use volume and trend, right? And that is it. I keep it very simple. The 15MA is a microscopic price action based valuation trend line. 15-day moving average, right? It gives you 15 days of price action, microscopic short-term lagging trend line. 200 EMA, the exponential moving average, is a macroscopic price action based valuation trend line over a 200-day moving period. It gives you that smoothed out long-term price action lagging trend line, right? The RSI, relative strength index, anything over 70 is overbought, anything under 30 is oversold. This gives you an idea of when is a good time to buy and when's a good time to sell for swing trade opportunities, right? And then I just want to look at the overall volume and the trend. So what do we have rocking right now, right? If you look at this in a large scale time frame, what you've got cooking up right now is this upward moving channel, and it's followed, I wouldn't quite say the same trend over in the past. So this is kind of some uncharted territory, but it does have 3 touch points, which is exactly what I look for, right? So you've got an ascending level of support, ascending level of resistance, and 3 touch points to validate each of these. And this has created an upward moving channel. And you can see that in the past here so far, right? Every time that it has touched this point, it has gotten a decent bounce. Not every time has it bounced up to this level of resistance yet. However, I think that it's very likely over the next couple of days, if not into the next week. So that's something that you can definitely watch for. Now, what would I watch for if you were going to play this, right? So if you wanted to pick up actual physical stock, this is entirely up to you guys, right? You do what you want to do, but I like it where it's at right now. I think this is a pretty decent buying opportunity, unless it breaks this ascending level of support. If it does, you've got the next level of support hanging 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, a quintuple bottom at about $29.25. So if you get a break underneath $34.03 or so, I would say first you want to see if it's going to hold over this level of support at about $32.39. If it breaks that, I would maybe cut your losses and take a reestablished position at $29.25, right? But I really do think that the earnings report next week is going to be good. I think it's going to drive price action. I would not be surprised to see it break over $40 sometime next week. That's something that I'm watching for personally. And if you want to play options, what do I think is the safest way to play that, right? I personally like June 18th. I think that June 18th calls is going to be the safest way to play this. And if you want to play conservatively, there's two different ways that you can go about this, right? Conservative call option, you can pick up something that's already in the money. You can pick up some $33 strikes. Just know that it's going to cost you $570 a contract. So it's expensive, right? You're paying it forward for that extra security. You can think about options in terms of you pay more for extra security, you pay less for less security. So if you want to play more risky, this is what these are puts. What am I doing? So it's even more expensive, $620 for the $33 strike, right? So if you want to play more risky, less expensive, you can pick up these $40 strikes or the 38s. And I think it's pretty realistically possible to get it in the money on the $38 or $40 strike. If you want to play it a little less risky, 35, right? So it just depends on how much you're willing to pay and how much risk you're willing to assume. Just know that if you do play options, there's risk associated. If you're wrong, you can lose all of your premium, right? There's nothing guaranteed about options in the stock market, right? This is just what I would personally do, knowing the information that we looked at, right? We saw that there was a huge sweep in options trading coming up here, expecting, I would anticipate for the earnings report, and there's pretty high open interest here on the $40 strike and the $35 strike. What I like to do is drop 1 or 2 levels below wherever the highest open interest is, right? So I would say either $38 or $34. If you wanted to pick up this $35 strike, I'd maybe go $34. If you want to pick up this $40 strike, I'd maybe go $38, right? It's entirely up to you. This is just what I would do, and I think there's pretty good opportunities here. So when is the right time to take profits, right? So if you're going to play earnings report and earnings report only, just a swing trade this, I would watch to see if it gets a clean break over this ascending level of resistance. So let's just say that hypothetically today, it was to test out this level of resistance and bounce off of it. I don't think it's going to, right? But just hypothetically speaking, that would be about 41 bucks. If it hits 31 or 41 bucks and it bounces off, that's your time to take profits, right? And you can rinse and repeat over and over and over. If it gets a clean break and you can test 46, 50 bucks, 55, 60, right? And continue to hold. It's just when you see price rejection off a significant level of resistance. So that's what I would personally watch for. Watch for it to continue trading in this ascending level of support and resistance, this upward moving channel. And if it does, you could be looking at a pretty nice little move. So that's kind of what I've got for Mara. I think it's a pretty interesting stock for the short term. I think there's a lot of money that can be made here in the short term, just based on earnings report, based on that sweep options trading that's kind of popping up here, based on the positive numbers that we're expecting, this ascending channel, right? We're sitting pretty decent on Mara. So that's what I've got for the video today, guys. If you enjoyed it, blah, 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 drop a like, consider subscribing. You know the whole spiel. That's what I've got. So thanks for watching, my friends, my family, my fellow Gorilla Gang. Much love. Catch you in the next one, and peace.